All right, everyone, I have Tammi Pickle here, and I'm so excited to chat with her. February is also known as the month of love. And like a quick sidebar, because I always go on sidebars, but in high school, I was on the drill team, and my drill team instructor, the month of February, her husband got her a gift every single day. And I was like, that is awesome. Like, they were the cutest couple ever, but every single February, he would buy her a present every single day. And I'm like, that is goals right there. But it is a lot of people who listen to the podcast are moms, but we do have single people who are listening. We do have single moms who want to continue on in a relationship in life, or we have people who just haven't found the one yet and want to have a family. And that's why they're listening for future reference for kids and birth and things like that, but they haven't found the right person to do that with. So we have Tammi Pickle here today, and I'm so excited to talk with her because she is the owner of a local high-end family-owned matchmaking agency that's been around for 28 years. And they are professional matchmakers, coaches, and relationship experts. So I'm so excited to talk to her. First of all, just because I think the whole matchmaking thing is like, it's just so cool, and I'm excited to dive into it with you. But we also all try to be that, right? When we have single friends, we're like, oh, let me set you up, let me do this. And the majority of the time it doesn't work, but you're the professional, so I'm excited to pick your brain. So thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Yes, thank you for having me, Elizabeth. Super excited to be chatting with you.
Yeah, so I'd love to know, since it's a family-owned business that's been around for 28 years. So how did it get started, and then what made you decide to like carry it on?
Yeah, so my mom started the company 28 years ago, and she actually joined a matchmaker, and then it was videotapes. So she brought home some videotapes, and I sat down with her. I was like 13 at the time, and we're looking through some videotapes, and they were super cheesy and 80s, 90s videotapes. But I was like, this guy looks great. He plays tennis. He, lives in Malibu. He's got 2 kids. He owns a car dealership. I was like, yeah, let's do that, Mom. And he seemed really nice and normal. And so she went on a date with him, and then that's her husband, and she's been with him ever since. But she just thought, what a great way of meeting people. She was a single mom, and she thought she'd be single forever. And people were doing like penny saver ads back then, and she would never have done something like that. So she just thought, what a cool way of meeting people. So then she started her own business just a few months after meeting her husband that she's with now. And so then she's owned her company for 28 years. So I kind of grew up in the business, kind of helping her when I was a kid. And then I really fell in love with what I do when I started matching clients and getting the calls that, oh my gosh, Tammi, you found me the one. And, just being able to help people find someone that are really like wanting to find the right person. And it's so rewarding, if you've ever matched your friends or whatever, it's so super rewarding to make a love connection. And especially when people are like dying to find someone, it's great. So I went to school for psychology, and I knew I wanted to help people in some way. And so this was kind of fell into my lap, but I love being able to help people every single day. And, I feel like I'm friends with my clients, and I can help them throughout the dating process, and kind of a fly on the wall too, because we get feedback from both people, and then I can relay, oh, you talk too much about your ex, or you talk too much about your family drama, So like, I feel like I'm friends with my clients, and then, able to help them meet people they wouldn't normally get to meet.
Right. And I feel like it's also something that's a different take on, like, now there's all these dating apps, and you have to filter through so much to like find the right person. And I know people who have met that way. But it's still, I feel like a lot of friends my age, like in their mid-30s, are kind of giving up on that scene because of the garbage dates that they've been on so far, or the people who are just like, like I said, it definitely has worked for some people. I remember, let's say, man, how long have they been married? My cousin, 20 some years ago, they met on like one of those websites.
Yeah.
I don't remember what it was, like one of the
.com or something.
Sorry, what was it?
Like Match.com.
Yeah. And they were like chatting from far away, and like they ended up getting married. But it is hard to filter through some of that right now. And I'm super interested to know like how getting a psychology degree played into this? Like, do you find that that has an impact on like how you match people up?
Um, so yes, while I'm matching my clients, I meet everyone personally. I kind of get to know each and every person, um, you know, where they came from, what they're looking for, what's important to them. And psychology background, I think, plays a big role in just like knowing someone and knowing what questions to ask about them and where they came from, and even like past relationships, like traumas and what they've been through. And, maybe talking to them about meeting a different type of person. So many people get stuck in like the same type over and over and over again. Okay, maybe you need to choose a new type. If that type wasn't working, like let's try something different. So I think someone that I've been in the business a really long time, I mean, 25 years full time, but more than that. And I work with a lot of single people every day, and I do have a sense of a good match might be for that person. And maybe on paper, you're like, I don't know. But then you meet in person and there's a connection and there's things in common and similar backgrounds and, similar wants and things. So I have typically a good sense of two people that might be a good fit together. But I really get to know my clients and I know them well. And then as I work together, even better. And then it is helpful to, like I said, get that feedback, on the apps and things. People get ghosted all the time. They're like, I wish I knew what happened after the first date. I never heard from them again. Well, I can kind of relay, well, he met someone else, or he, just didn't feel chemistry, or he was turned off by this or whatever. So I can kind of relay those tips and things to help people. But I really do think, we are different from online and app because we are doing all the vetting, screening, interviewing, background search. So they are who they say they are. They're not being deceitful or dishonest about anything. So many people are lying about their age or their photos or what they do or where they live and all those types of things. So we are doing all that work for you. And it's like, you're not wasting your time if you like show up and you're like, you look like your pictures and you were lying about who you are, and why am I wasting my time? And time is so precious, especially like single parents, and you're working hard, and you'd rather be spending time with your friends and your family than a horrible dinner date you can't get out of and you got to spend a couple hours with this person. So people appreciate what we do and investing into a matchmaker. A lot of our clients do kind of try the app route first, and like maybe it's not working for them, or it's too much work, or it's a lot of wasted time, and they're just not meeting the right people. And then they might try a company like ours, or they would never go that route. And so they appreciate a matchmaker that has a large database, and we have a great reputation and those types of things.
Mm-hmm. And I feel like a huge difference too is like a free app where, like you said, you kind of have to filter through a bunch of stuff and you don't really know what other people are looking for, versus like going through a matchmaker, this person is invested in finding love and in finding a committed relationship. Like they took the time to like go through a matchmaker to invest in this. That's an important part of their lives, or that's like, the season that they're in, they're ready. Whereas like on the apps, you're like, I don't know if this person is looking to just hook up or to settle down.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, people are a lot more serious that come to a matchmaker versus online. And I know a lot of people that have met on the apps and things, but I do feel that people are a bit more serious. They are investing their time and energy and money into a matchmaker, so they do tend to be a bit more serious.
Mm-hmm, right. At the beginning, you were saying how fun it is when you set somebody up and it works. And we like to give my mother-in-law a hard time because she was always trying to like set people up. And a couple years ago, she was trying to set up this. She kept saying over and over that these two people would be great together. And we were like, yeah, maybe. And like eventually they went on a date and they're getting married this year. So she like, once like he proposed, she's like, all right, who else can I set up? Like, this is, like,
I love it.
Yeah,
I
it was
know. I
super
would do it
exciting.
for free all day long. It's such a good feeling. But I
Right,
get
it
paid
is.
for it too,
Right, right. Right. Right, which is just it's so fun. So, do you just like get invited to weddings all the time or what?
yeah, we do. Not all weddings. I mean, I'm in LA and I have clients kind of all over. We have offices in New York and Miami and Texas and all of California. So like if we might get invited, but I don't know that I'm necessarily flying to New York for a wedding, that kind of thing. But we have been to many weddings, and it's awesome to get a shout out and be invited because a lot of people are timid about wanting to tell people how they met too. So not everybody's shouting off the rooftops that they met from the matchmaker. They
Right,
keep it a
right.
little more quiet.
So what do you think about all of these reality TV shows of like finding love? Because so I'm not a huge reality TV show person, but for some reason my husband and I always watch Love is Blind. And
Yeah.
I think it's super interesting them getting to know each other without the physical aspect. Although I do believe like obviously they have that time after, like you have to have some sort of physical chemistry.
Right.
With somebody. I do think that people who have in their mind, like, I want a guy who's 6'2", green eyes, brown, like all these things, I feel like you're
Yeah.
doing yourself a disservice with
Yeah.
like those really picky physical attributes.
Right.
But you have to have some sort of physical connection and chemistry. And obviously, like this last season of Love is Blind, there were some crazy things that happened, but it's like just super interesting though, because like all these reality TVs, or TV shows, I feel like they almost do people a disservice because they think like going on The Bachelor, you're gonna find love, and the majority of those relationships do not work out, or it just like puts these unrealistic expectations. Like, look at these dates these people are going on, or look at these things. But it's also like a guilty pleasure to watch.
Yeah. I mean, I think sometimes it's for show. Like I actually just matched Raven and Harry for like a little promo for Netflix for a movie, You People. But it's like sometimes they want big characters like to make good TV. So it's like about the casting. And I think if they have a matchmaker, there's a lot better matches. Like I personally helped match Raven and Harry, and they connected with my matches over the actors, and they were interested. The actors were very over the top and probably not looking for love. And so I feel like if a lot of those reality shows had someone like me matching, I feel like there would be better connections possibly made. So just putting it out there.
Right, right. Well, the one show, which I've never watched, The Love at First Sight, they do that, right? Like something like they pull up profiles, they match
Yeah.
you who, based on a profile, they think you'd be good with, or something like
Right,
that.
right.
Which I don't know the success rate of that show either. Um, I haven't watched it, but it can be hard because I feel like we're also in this weird like alternate universe with the apps and the social media, and like people also going on these shows just to get famous, and so
Sure.
it's like it's not real, but it's called reality TV.
Right. And a lot of the people that want to go on those types of shows are kind of the actor-ish type. Not everybody wants to put themselves out there like that. Like even when I cast for shows, I mean not cast, when I like help match for these shows, a lot of the successful professionals are not wanting to put themselves on any kind of dating show. So it's
Right.
tricky. I mean, you'll get the professionals, but less professionals want to put themselves out there like that.
Right. Well, I'd love to talk about that, like with the professionals, because a lot of my friends that are around my age and single, they're in the professional world, right? Like they've really invested in their careers or taken a different route, and they want to have a family, they just haven't met the right person. Um, and I find like those are probably the people too that are more interested in like investing in themselves, doing matchmaking and settling down. Is that kind of like what you find with your business?
Yes, for sure. We have professionals, they're serious about finding the right person, like maybe tried the apps or wouldn't try the apps, And yeah, they're wanting to invest in finding the right person. They appreciate that we're doing all that screening for them. So it's like less of a waste of time to meet these people because we vetted them and like we're matching them based on everything they're looking for and the other person, and we show pictures and profiles back and forth. So, you know, you're making sure that you do have some things in common, you're attracted to the photo, it is a recent photo, all those types of things. So I feel like we have a better success rate because of all those things, because we are, you know, making sure that both parties are interested and attracted and there's some things in common. And I personally am matching, you know, these clients together. I don't match every single client, but one of our team, it's like we always, whoever's matching meets both parties. So we feel that's important, that like I'm not matching someone that I've never met with another one of my clients. We feel it's important to know each person and then have a feeling that they are going to be a good fit together based on personality and what they're all about, what they're looking for, and where they see themselves and all those things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. Have you ever, I don't know if you can answer this or not, but obviously you can't give like names, but have you ever just like had some clients that were like so difficult and like they finally like, you know, they're like, we want a matchmaker, but you're like, you're the problem. Like you have to majorly change if you're going to meet somebody.
Yeah. Sometimes people are so super picky and they're like stuck in their head about it. And it's hard because if they tell you right off the bat how picky they are, then you know. But if they hide it from you and then they're like, no, I only want to date my age and 1 year younger or 1 year old, you know, like I only want to date within 20 miles of where I live and they have to do this for a living, then it's impossible. Sorry, I can't help you either. And I do decline clients. If I don't feel I can help them, I won't bring them on as a client. But sometimes that will open their eyes too. Like, oh, maybe you're right. Maybe I am too picky and maybe I do need to be more open-minded. And I hear that a lot when I decline working for someone because they're too picky. They're like, oh, shoot, okay, I'll be more open. I promise. Like, I'll put my dating in your hands and I trust you and that kind of thing. So, and then sometimes, you know, people hide it from you and they join with you and then they're like, no, now I changed my mind. I only want to date, you know, this religion and this and that. And you're like, oh my gosh, you made it way more difficult for me to match you. So you just kind of have to reel them in and you know, let them know that it's like needle in a haystack. It's not going to happen. You know, you have to be open up your pool of options.
Right. Yeah, I find that like it's hard to have those conversations. It's different because you're the professional, so they're like hiring you. So it's like, hey, like you can talk to them. But with friends, sometimes it's like you're dating the same guy over and over, like you're saying earlier. So it's like the problem isn't necessarily these people, it's that you pick these people who like have these issues. So you end up having the same outcomes with like every single relationship and then getting upset that it's not working out. Or even like those impossible standards. It's like, how do I tell my friend that she has impossible standards for guys? Like the relationships don't work out. And she's like, he needs this. And then they start dating. She's like, he needs to completely change everything about himself. And I'm like, do you not see that this doesn't make sense?
I know. Sometimes you just have to like, as a friend, like this is what I'm seeing and maybe come at it like softer and like you would want somebody to talk to you about something sensitive like that. But I feel like keeping it to yourself or, you know, not telling someone is like almost a disservice to them and just like over drinks. Like I really feel like you can't change how someone is and maybe, you know, better off to like look for someone with all those traits that you're looking for instead of wanting to change someone. Like I love you and I care about you and I just want the best for you kind of a thing. So just, yeah, I mean,
I feel like that's also tough with like the people my age though, because like I just turned 36 and So most of my friends that are single my age, and especially like if they don't have kids and want to have a family, like want to have children, it's like, they're like, okay, but I don't want to start over. I don't want to start from
Yeah.
scratch again. Like I've already invested 2-3 years into this relationship. Like now I have to reinvest another 2-3 years. And that, like starting over, who knows before I'll meet that person. So it's almost like maybe I should just really try to work with this to get it to work so I
Yeah.
can have a family. But then it's
Yeah.
also like, well, you don't want to have kids with that mentality.
Yeah. And that's why divorce rate is so high too. Like you settle for something that's not quite right, or people change over time and you don't grow together, all those types of things. But you don't want to settle for someone just because they're in your life. You want them to, make you happy. And all relationships are hard. So like, maybe if you're having a hard time, communicating with someone, like chatting with someone about it, cancel or whatever, it could be helpful versus give up. If you can, try to make that relationship what you want it to be. But I do think if you're like wanting to change lots of things about someone, it's probably not your person, and you probably don't want to have children and then end up having to be divorced or whatnot, with that person. So to reassess and understand if it's that's your right person or not. But I think it would be beneficial to like maybe, counselor or getting together and working out some issues if you can't do it yourself.
Right. Yeah. Um, yeah, I like what you're saying, like kind of work on these things before you have kids, because that's like one thing I feel like I've noticed the most with my husband and I is like we never really got in big fights until I was pregnant with my first. And then like after we had kids, because we thought we had talked about everything, but then we had kids and we're like, wait, you want to do that and I want to do this. Like how
Yeah.
were we not on the same page with this? Like obviously like we've worked through it, like, but
Yeah.
those were like the biggest fights that we had. And I feel
Yeah.
like as a mom, you're like, I'm carrying this child. This is my kid. No, I'm right. Like you
Yeah.
have this different connection, whereas they almost have like, it usually takes dads a little bit longer to bond with the baby after they're born and things
Sure.
like that. Whereas like me, I'm like, that's my only job is to protect this child right now. Like, so I don't agree with you. You're wrong. Like, you
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like, it's my
Yeah.
choice.
I
And
make
you're
the
like, wait,
parenting decisions.
okay. And they're like,
Yeah.
okay, but I'm also a parent who loves this child and I love you and I'm trying to do what's best for our family, so we really bumped heads on a few things.
Right.
And so those were our biggest blowout fights. And so
Yeah.
it's like, if you think that you're going to just settle with somebody and have kids and somehow that's going to fix the relationship, it's going to amplify every single
Oh,
issue
100%.
that is like not right.
Right, 100%. Like that's where a lot of stressors come from, is when you start to have kids, you're not sleeping at night, you're like doting on that baby, and like that's your priority, and relationship kind of takes the back burner. It all probably comes back together, or it doesn't, and those are the things you have to work on. But yeah, when you're kidless and you don't have as many worries and stressors as you do when you start to have babies, that's life changes.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I like the matchmaking concept. I think that it's so cool that it exists because like I said, filtering through like just even people in general. Like if I were to be single again, like I would never put myself out on an app, especially
Yeah.
like having 2 kids. So that's just for me and like how I would do it. But I'd love for you to share a little bit more like how the process works. So if somebody wants to be set up through you, what do they do? Do they have to apply first, or how does it start?
Yeah, so we have a application, just a questionnaire on our website, and if you fill that out, you can be as specific or non-specific as you'd like to be, but it just comes to us for our eyes only. We don't have a database online where anyone would see it, of course. And then that would just kind of give us a starting point of like a little bit about this person and what they're looking for, some specifics, some photos, those types of things. And then I would call that person and kind of explain how everything works. And then we would have an interview, either virtually or in person. And then I just kind of get to know that person in more detail. And then I would come up with ideas of, clients that I have that I think would be a good fit. And then we get that person started. So there's different ways of joining as well. We have full memberships. That's where we're actively searching, recruiting for someone on a regular basis. And then let's just say somebody wants to be an inactive member. They could be possibly put in the system and we are not charging that person. So we do have an inactive membership database where if we're searching for a client that we think would be good for that person, then we would introduce kind of a complimentary membership. So not everyone has to pay the full fees, but there's no promises or guarantees, obviously, of that inactive membership. If we're searching for someone and she wants to meet him and vice versa, then we'll make the introduction. But like I said, no guarantee. If we're working for someone, then we're working for that person full time, sending them profiles on a regular basis, searching for those clients. So we have a very large database, thousands and thousands of clients in our database, but we also recruit for our clients. So we get, word of mouth, friends of friends. We recruit on social media and in a certain area, we have a matchmaker that might be going out to events and functions and red carpets and things like that, and might be recruiting, or they know people and they're, getting recruits from their friends and things like that. So most come out of our current database, and those are people that have reached out to us and they're wanting to use a matchmaker. And typically we do full member to full member, but we also have a really big database. Like maybe your membership expires, you'll stay in the system if you would want to stay in the system. So there's different ways of working with us.
Yeah, that's cool. What advice would you give to somebody maybe who's listening, who is a single mom, who's trying to navigate the dating world, open to love again, would want to have a relationship, but doesn't even really know how to start or put herself out there?
Yeah, I would say, you're not going to find anyone unless you do something different, So if you don't want to do the apps and online, look into a matchmaker. You don't always have to pay the big fees, but it's a good place to start. Everybody's kind of in the same boat. You're like, matchmaker, that's weird. But everybody is in the same boat. They're all joining with a matchmaker. So they're all a little bit timid about it. And so, reaching out to my company or someone else and just getting more information and seeing if there's a match they may have for you, I would feel like stepping out of your comfort zone and meeting people any way you can. But especially with a matchmaker, I feel like it's a safe way of meeting other quality professionals that you maybe wouldn't come across.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's, I used to always tell people if you want to meet somebody, you have to a certain type of person, you almost have to be in that environment. I remember when I was younger and I had girlfriends, when we were in our 20s, they're I just want to meet a nice guy, blah, 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 a good guy, all these qualities. I'm like, honey, you're at the club every night. Do you think that your future husband's at the club every night? I don't think so. Maybe you did meet your husband at the club. I don't know. But it's if you don't want to meet a guy who's hanging out at the bars all weekend, then you can't be at the bars all weekend.
That's not where you want to pick up your men. Yeah, 100%.
Right. So like you said, getting out of your comfort zone, doing something different, somebody who's going through a matchmaker, they're in a serious season of their life where they want to find a good relationship and they're not looking for, who's ever left at the bar at 3 a.m.
Right. 100%. And they are professionals and they are making a good living and all those types of things. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's important. It's important to find the people that you want to surround yourself with. And like you said, you're not going to, find that person at the bar. So then where do you go? If you're not meeting through friends or just out and about because you're busy, you're working hard, you might have kids. And then where do you go to meet someone? So, definitely just try it, reach out to our company or a matchmaker and see what they may have. And, make sure you look into the company you're using, make sure that they, are who they say they are and all those types of things. Because some matchmakers, they say they've been around forever, but they've changed their name multiple times. You have to be careful with who you use and make sure they're reputable and have a good reputation and good reviews and all those things.
Yeah. One thing I tell people too is like, ask your family and friends. Like, I know there's certain people in my family that I would never ask to set me up with anybody ever.
Yeah.
But they might not know that you're looking or that you want to get back out there or that and sometimes if it's somebody that they know, then you might feel more comfortable.
Right.
Like how in your business, you're like, I don't set anybody up with anybody I haven't met yet. So it's, like let people know, hey, I'm open to being set up. Like, and then if they do set you up, ask a lot of questions. But putting yourself out there, maybe getting a little uncomfortable. It can be hard to like ask, hey, do you guys have anyone you could set me up with? That might be uncomfortable, but they might not know that like that's what you want or that's you're ready to date or you're, wanting to get outside your comfort zone. So you can always start there too and just like ask, and unless you don't trust anybody that they would set you up with. It's funny because like we always say like my husband and I feel like we're just like made for each other, but our parents would have never picked us out for each other, like ever.
Yeah.
So we're like, if we let our parents set us up, like if I was like, Mom, like, do you know anyone I could date? She wouldn't have picked my husband and his mom wouldn't have picked me, but like we picked each other,
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, definitely a good place to start. Spread the word that you're interested and available, and if there's anybody good, because a lot of good matches do come from two people that know those people, and and you already kind of have similar friends and lifestyles or that kind of thing. So it's definitely a good place to start.
Yeah. So, would you just tell us a little bit more about where, if anybody's listening and they want to go through Matchmaker, where they can find more about you and your company and get set up?
Yeah. So our website's eliteconnections.com. And you can call my office, 800-923-4200. But you can go on our website. There's a questionnaire. You could fill that out. It would come to me, or just call us directly if you want to chat more. And we really can help anyone anywhere. We do have nationwide and international offices. And just reach out. I'd love to talk to you more about how it all works and see about matching you.
Awesome. And then before we wrap up, I always joke about I have a problem with like always having a million beverages with me. So I'd like to ask, what is your go-to beverage of choice?
I'm a margarita girl. Margarita rocks, no salt. So I when I was younger, grew up working at a Mexican restaurant, and I'm a big Mexican food lover. And everybody says I make a mean tamarita. My real name's Tamra. So they're strong, but they go down well. And I just love a good margarita.
I do too. I do love a good margarita, and same, rocks, no
so
salt.
Refreshing,
Yeah, for sure. I do like the ones with the tahini rhythm though.
Yeah, I haven't gotten into that. I do like a little spicy. I've gotten into spicy as I've gotten older. So a little jalapeno margarita, delicious.
Yeah, I agree. Not too spicy for me, but a little. Man, so I'm actually, I've gotten more into margaritas for sure. But my husband and I just went out for my birthday, and I don't drink very often, but I love like a good old fashioned. So where we went, they had this like old fashioned made with walnut bitters and man, I'm trying to think of what was in it. There was like maple syrup, but then black cracked pepper. It was the way that they made it was like really refreshing. But I've always just loved like a really good old fashioned.
It's very adult of you.
Well, I worked in the bar and service industry for 12 years. So I bartended, I cocktailed, I did everything. So I definitely went on like a huge bourbon streak for a long time, where I would drink it like on the rocks. Now I couldn't. But a good old fashioned I do love.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah. Well, I just want to thank you so much for coming on, for sharing all of your advice and for chatting with me today. And I will leave all the links where people can get in touch with you in the show notes. So thank you again so much for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me.